Welcome to this presentation on how farmers and ranchers can create new income in the green economy. We're going to be talking about carbon credits, what they are, how they're created, how they're sold to create money for farmers and ranchers. This presentation is brought to you by United AgriCarbon. Visit us at unitedagricarbon.com. The first step in understanding about carbon credits is knowing that they're based on something called greenhouse gas emissions limits. That's a way of saying that there's a set amount of greenhouse gases that are allowed to be released into the atmosphere. These limits exist in two forms. The first form exists under a voluntary system, and the second exists under a mandatory system. The U.S. currently operates under a voluntary system where companies decide whether they'd like to participate or not, and if they do decide to participate, they develop their own guidelines about these emissions limits. Many other parts of the world, Europe being the largest market by far, take part in a mandatory system where the government decides what kind of limits there should be. It's interesting to note that the U.S. is headed in the direction of a mandatory system. Stay tuned to unitedagricarbon.com for information about this development. The second step to understanding about carbon credits is to understand that some companies are going to go beyond their set limits. This puts them into the position of being out of compliance with the limits. There are basically two ways for companies to get back into compliance. The first fix is to change their method of doing business in such a way as to reduce their emissions back to levels underneath the limit. The second fix is to utilize carbon credits to offset their excess emissions. So the value behind a carbon credit is that a company can use them to bring themselves back into compliance. As you can see in this slide, a carbon credit can be used to offset or cancel out the excess emissions, bringing them back underneath the emissions limits. Companies can either generate their own carbon credits, or they can buy their credits from someone else who has them for sale. Farmers and ranchers can produce these carbon credits, but most people don't know about them, and even fewer farmers and ranchers know how to go about making money from them. Certain farming and ranching conservation practices trap or sequester carbon dioxide in the soil. These practices result in a certain number of carbon credits per acre. So the example here on this slide is that no-till farming leads to a certain number of carbon credits per acre. The number of credits per acre is arrived at by a complex accounting of many factors, some of which are the type of conservation practice used or the type of soil in question, among many other factors. Provided that strict guidelines are met and maintained, these carbon credits can be sold to companies who need them to get them back into compliance. One aspect of carbon credits that will be familiar to farmers and ranchers is that their value goes up and down on the open market much the same way that commodities do. Now for how money is made from them. Carbon credits have a real monetary value, but one of the trickiest parts of the process of making money from them is identifying buyers, marketing, and selling them. Farmers and ranchers turn to what are known as aggregators, basically carbon credit brokers, to partner with and to turn their carbon credits into income. If you have got more questions about carbon credits or would like to learn more about how to make money from them, don't hesitate to contact us. You can find our contact information on our website, unitedagricarbon.com.